Dr. Kale Varan rubbed his eyes and leaned back in his chair, staring at the flickering hollow screen in front of him. The lab was silent except for the occasional hum of machinery and the soft whir of the orbital station's air circulation system. Outside, the city of Nova Astra stretched endlessly, a web of silver spires and glowing lights, orbiting a blue and white planet far below. From this height, the station looked peaceful, almost unreal, but Kale knew the truth. Humanity was struggling, and the plague had already stolen too much. The neurological disease had spread quietly over the last 5 years, dulling minds, sapping creativity, and erasing memories. People forgot their loved ones, their skills, even how to smile. Governments tried medicine after medicine, but nothing worked. Kale had spent months isolating compounds from alien plants and synthetic viruses, but every trial failed. The notes on his holoscreen were full of formulas, graphs, and failed results. Failure was exhausting him. Kale rubbed his temples and sighed. He had never believed in miracles. Science was predictable, measurable, and yet, deep inside, he felt a spark of hope he couldn't ignore. A soft knock at the lab door broke the silence. "Come in," Kale called without looking up. The door slid open, and a tall figure stepped in. Lyra Marin moved with quiet confidence, her dark hair tied back and her hazel eyes gleaming. She was infamous among the scientific community for her unorthodox methods. Where others followed rules, she bent them. Where others feared risk, she embraced it. Kale had never fully trusted her. But today, she might have the answer. "I've got something you might want to see," Lyra said, her voice calm but urgent. She held a small vial that glowed faintly blue in the dim light. The liquid inside shimmered like a captured star. Kale's curiosity prickled. "What is it?" he asked, finally lifting his gaze. "A stronger medicine," Lyra replied simply. "It could stop the plague, maybe even reverse it." Kale leaned forward. "Stronger medicine? How?" "We've tried everything." Lyra walked closer, placing the vial on the table between them. "Not everything," she said. "This isn't just human science. It's something different. I discovered a plant on the outskirts of the Solara expanse. Its properties are unusual. The compound inside this vial is derived from it." "Artie," Kale's eyes widened. The Solara expanse was barely charted. Most scientists avoided it. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and filled with unknown life forms. "You traveled there?" he asked. "I did," Lyra said, nodding. "I brought back the extract. I've been testing it in isolation. It's promising." Kale stared at the glowing vial. It was beautiful, mesmerizing, almost alive. But he knew better than to be fooled by appearances. "And the risks?" he asked cautiously. Lyra's gaze met his. "It's strong. Too strong for some. But it's the only thing that's shown any effect on the plague's neurological damage. I can guide you through it. You won't be alone." Kale hesitated. He could feel his pulse quicken. It was one thing to read about a potential cure, another to witness it in person, and yet, the thought of finally fighting back against the plague, of restoring what humanity had lost, was impossible to resist. "I'll help," he said finally, his voice low. "But will it hurt? Is it going to taste bad?" Lyra chuckled softly. "It tastes bitter, metallic. But it's not meant to be enjoyable, Kale. It's meant to work." Kale nodded. He had faced fear before. In simulations, in the lab, in the field. But this was different. This was real. And yet, despite the danger, he felt a flicker of excitement. Maybe, just maybe, this was the breakthrough he had been waiting for. Lyra carefully opened the vial. A faint mist rose from the liquid, curling in the air like a living thing. Kyle leaned back, instinctively shielding his face. The smell was sharp, alien, but strangely invigorating. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked. Kale nodded. swallowing hard. Yes. The first dose was small, barely a drop, placed under his tongue. The taste was worse than he expected, sharp, metallic, and bitter. Burning slightly as it slid down his throat, Kale's face contorted, but he held still, trusting Lyra's steady gaze. Minutes passed. At first, nothing happened. Kale felt only the bitter taste lingering in his mouth. Then, slowly, a warmth spread through his body, starting at his chest and radiating outward. His thoughts, dulled for months by exhaustion and the creeping effects of the plague, began to sharpen. Colors in the lab seemed brighter, the hum of machinery more distinct, and he could feel every heartbeat, every breath, as if his senses were waking up. Focus, Lyra said softly. Let it work. Kale closed his eyes, letting the sensation flow through him. For the first time in years, he felt alive. The dull fog that had clouded his mind lifted slightly. Memories he had struggled to recall came back in fragments. His mother's smile, the smell of rain on the station's metal deck, the thrill of discovery as a child. This is incredible, Kale whispered. I can think again. Everything is clearer. Lyra nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. I told you it was strong. But it's not just medicine. It's a test of human adaptability. Not everyone can handle it. Kale felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. What happens if I can't handle it? You trust me, Lyra said. That's what matters. And you're stronger than you think. Humanity is stronger than you think. Kale couldn't help but smile. For the first time in years, he felt hope. Hope not just for himself, but for everyone who had suffered under the plague. If this medicine worked, it could change everything. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Lyra guided him through the process, monitoring his vitals, checking his responses, and explaining the properties of the compound. She spoke of its origin, how the alien plant had evolved to protect itself from predators, and how its chemical makeup interacted uniquely with human biology. Kale listened, fascinated, feeling the pulse of possibility thrumming through his veins. By the time the first test cycle ended, Kale felt different not just physically, but mentally. Ideas he had thought impossible began to form clearly. Solutions to problems that had haunted him for months appeared almost spontaneously. The dull despair that had dominated his life lifted, replaced by a cautious but burning excitement. Tomorrow, we try the next phase, Lyra said, carefully securing the vial. If it works as I expect, this could be the beginning of the cure. Kale nodded, staring at the glowing liquid. His heart raced. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and unknowns. But he felt ready. For the first time in a long while, he believed that humanity could fight back, that humans could adapt, survive, and thrive. And somewhere deep inside, he realized that the medicine was not just about science, it was about courage, trust, and the unyielding human spirit. For the first time in years, Kale allowed himself to hope. Outside, the city lights of Nova Astra twinkled like stars, reflecting the possibilities of a future waiting to be reclaimed. The fight was just beginning, but for the first time, Kale felt that humans and he could win. The next morning, Kale awoke to the soft hum of the station. Sunlight filtered through the observation windows, casting golden patterns across the lab's steel floor. The glow from last night's vial still lingered faintly in his memory, along with the warmth and clarity it had brought. He stretched and rubbed his eyes, trying to shake off the lingering fatigue from yesterday's experiment. Lyra was already in the lab, moving between counters with purpose, checking instruments, and recording data. She looked up as Kale entered. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady. But there was an edge of excitement in her tone. "How are you feeling?" Kale took a deep breath. "Better. Stronger. Actually, clearer. The fog in my mind is gone. At least a little. I can think properly again." Lyra smiled. "I told you it would be different." "That's just the beginning." Kale walked over to the hollow screen, still glowing with charts from yesterday's tests. So, what's the next step? He asked. You said there's a phase 2? Yes, Lyra said, moving closer. Phase 2 is where we test the medicine on a slightly larger scale. Yesterday's dose was tiny, just enough to see if your body could handle it. Today, we push the limits still carefully, still controlled, but we need to see how your system responds under more stress. Kale felt a ripple of nerves. He had survived phase 1, but the thought of a stronger dose made his stomach twist. And, are you sure it's safe? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lyra met his eyes. Nothing in life is truly safe, Kale. Not space travel, not research, not fighting a plague. But I've studied the plant, the compound, everything. You're strong enough. I'll guide you. You won't be alone. Kale nodded, though a small shiver ran down his spine. He trusted Lyra more than anyone else in the scientific community, but the truth was, she was unorthodox, unpredictable, and fearless in ways that made him both admire and fear her. He glanced at the glowing vial on the counter. Its blue light almost hypnotic. And, again, it won't taste good, right? He asked, trying to lighten the tension with a small joke. Lyra laughed softly. Bitter, metallic, alien. Yes. But think of it like a necessary challenge. The taste is unpleasant, but the results are worth it. Kale swallowed. I suppose I can manage. Lyra nodded and prepared the second dose, carefully measuring it. This is more than medicine, she said quietly, as she handed him the new vial. It's an experiment in trust. You have to let go, Kale. Trust your body, your mind, and me. Kale felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. He held the vial carefully, staring at the faintly glowing liquid. It felt alive in his hands. The weight of the moment pressed on him. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and it could all go wrong. But he also felt a spark of excitement. He was on the edge of discovery, on the edge of humanity's chance to fight back against the plague. Ready? Lyra asked. Kale nodded, lifting the vial to his lips. The metallic taste hit instantly, bitter and sharp. He grimaced but swallowed it anyway. Immediately, warmth spread through his chest, stronger than before, almost like fire coursing through his veins. His heart beat faster, and his senses sharpened. Colors were brighter, sounds clearer, and for a moment, he felt like he could hear the very hum of the station. The rhythm of life itself. Focus on the sensations, Lyra said, her voice calm but commanding. Notice what's happening. Let it flow. Kale closed his eyes, letting the warmth spread. His mind, which had felt clouded and dull for years, was alive with clarity. Memories he hadn't accessed in months began to surface. His childhood, his first experiments, the wonder of discovering something new. For the first time, he felt not just alive, but capable of anything. This is amazing, Kale whispered, his voice trembling slightly. I can think faster. Everything is clearer. I can feel everything. Lyra nodded, a faint smile on her lips. That's the medicine. But remember, it's more than just chemical reactions. It's human adaptability. Kale, your body and mind are responding because you're willing to take the risk. Most wouldn't. Most would be too afraid. Kale's eyes met hers, and he realized the truth of her words. This wasn't just about medicine or science. It was about courage, about trusting oneself, about embracing the unknown. Humanity had always thrived by taking risks, by pushing boundaries, by refusing to accept limits. And right now, he felt like he was part of that long tradition. Lyra moved closer, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You're ready for more than just survival, Kyle. You're ready to fight back. This medicine, it's the start of something bigger. Something that could restore humanity. Kale swallowed hard, feeling both fear and determination. But What if it doesn't work? What if it fails? Lyra shook her head gently. Then we try again. We adapt. We learn. We improve. Humanity doesn't give up. We find solutions. Even when the odds are impossible. Kale took a deep breath, letting her words sink in. She was right. For the last 5 years, humanity had been reacting, struggling to survive. Now, for the first time, they had a chance to act, to fight back, to take control of their future. The rest of the day passed in careful observation. Lyra monitored Kale's vitals, ran tests, and recorded data. Kale felt stronger, more alert, and alive in ways he hadn't felt in years. Ideas he had thought impossible began to form. Solutions to problems that had seemed unsolvable appeared in his mind. And for the first time, he believed that the plague could be defeated. Lyra explained the properties of the medicine in detail, speaking of the alien plant that had produced it. The plant had evolved to survive in harsh conditions, developing chemical defenses that could interact with human biology in unique ways. Its compounds were powerful, unpredictable, and difficult to replicate, which meant that humanity would have to rely on ingenuity, courage, and adaptability to make full use of it. Kale listened, fascinated. So, the plant's properties aren't just medicine. They're a challenge, he said. They're testing us as much as the plague is, Lyra smiled. Exactly. That's why it's so important to take it with trust and awareness. The medicine alone isn't enough. It's human strength, human courage, human ingenuity. That's what makes it work. Kale nodded slowly. He understood now. This wasn't just about science or chemistry. It was about humanity. Its capacity to adapt, to overcome, to survive. The medicine was a tool. But the real power came from people willing to take risks, to trust each other, to face the unknown. As the evening approached, Kale and Lyra prepared for the final test of the day, a slightly higher dose, designed to push his body and mind even further. Kale felt nervous, but he also felt ready. The fear that had held him back for so long was still there, but it was tempered by determination, courage, and a sense of purpose. Are you ready for the final step today? Lyra asked. Kale nodded. Yes, let's do it. The dose was stronger than before, and the taste even more intense. Kale grimaced, but he swallowed it without hesitation. Almost immediately, he felt a surge of energy, clarity, and focus. His mind raced with ideas, possibilities, and solutions. The plague's fog seemed to lift completely, replaced by a sharp, clear awareness. Lyra watched him closely, her expression calm but proud. You did it, she said. You've passed phase 2. This is the beginning of something amazing, Kale. Humanity can fight back. We can reclaim what was lost. Kale felt a surge of hope. For the first time in years, he believed it. He believed that humans could survive, adapt, and thrive, even against impossible odds, and he knew that the medicine, combined with human courage and ingenuity, could change everything. As they cleaned up the lab and prepared for the night, Kale looked out at the city of Nova Astra, glowing in the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, millions of people were struggling, fighting to survive, hoping for a cure. And now, for the first time, he felt that hope was real. Tomorrow, Lyra said, we take the next step. We prepare for more tests, more doses, and eventually, wider distribution. This is just the beginning. Kale nodded, his heart filled with determination. He knew the road ahead would be dangerous, uncertain, and filled with challenges. But he also knew something else, that humanity, with its courage, adaptability, and resilience, could overcome anything. And for the first time in years, Kale truly believed that they would. The lab was quiet, save for the soft hum of machinery and the occasional beep from monitors tracking Kale's vitals. It had been 2 days since he had taken the second dose of the medicine, and already, he could feel changes inside him. changes that went beyond strength or clarity. Something was shifting in his mind, something profound. Kale stared at his hands, flexing his fingers slowly. They felt lighter, more precise, as if every nerve had been awakened. Even the subtle tremors from fatigue and stress that had plagued him for months had vanished. The fog that had dulled his thoughts for so long was gone, replaced by sharp focus. His senses were heightened. He could hear the faint vibration of the station's engines, smell the sterilized metal of the lab, even sense the faint trace of Lyra's perfume in the air. Lyra entered the lab carrying a tray with a fresh vial of the glowing blue medicine. Her expression was calm, almost serene, but her eyes shone with excitement. "Are you ready for the next stage?" she asked. Kale nodded, trying to steady his racing heart. "I think so. I can feel something changing. It's hard to explain." "That's good," Lyra said. "It means your body is adapting. That's exactly what we want." She handed him the vial. This dose was stronger than any he had taken before, designed to push his body and mind to their limits. Kale lifted it slowly to his lips. The metallic, bitter taste hit immediately, and he grimaced. But he swallowed, determined not to show fear. Almost instantly, the warmth returned, stronger and more intense than before. It started in his chest and spread through his body. A wave of energy that made his muscles tingle and his mind expand. He could feel every heartbeat, every breath, every nerve firing with new intensity. "Focus on the sensation," Lyra instructed. "Don't resist it. Let it flow through you." Kale closed his eyes, trying to concentrate. The energy coursing through him was overwhelming at first. Thoughts and memories flooded his mind, faces he hadn't seen in years, lectures he had attended as a student, discoveries he had made but never documented. But unlike before, these memories weren't fragmented or confusing. They were vivid, precise, and clear. He opened his eyes and looked at the lab. Every detail stood out in sharp relief. The tiny scratches on the counter, the faint reflection of the city lights on the windows, the pattern of dust particles floating in the air. It was as if the world itself had become more alive, more real. Lyra observed him closely, her hand hovering near the control panel in case he needed assistance. "You're doing well," she said. "Your mind is adapting faster than I expected. Most people would struggle with this stage. You're thriving." Kale swallowed hard, a mix of awe and fear running through him. "It's incredible," he whispered. "I can think faster. I can remember everything. I feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years." "That's the medicine," Lyra replied. "But it's more than that. Your body is learning to adapt, to process information at a higher rate. Your mind is expanding because you're capable of it. Humanity is capable of it. That's why this works." Kale felt a thrill run through him. For so long, the plague had stolen everything: memory, creativity, hope. Now, for the first time, he felt that he could fight back. He could reclaim what had been lost. Hours passed, and the effects of the medicine deepened. Kale's thoughts became faster, more organized, more precise. Problems that had seemed impossible yesterday now appeared solvable. He began analyzing the lab's systems, predicting outcomes of chemical reactions before they happened, and imagining new ways to replicate the medicine safely. "This is beyond anything I imagined," Kale said, pacing the lab. "I feel like I could solve every problem, invent every solution, if I just focus." Lyra nodded. "That's the transformation. The medicine enhances human potential, but it doesn't do everything. Your mind, your courage, your determination, that's what makes it work." Kale felt a surge of determination. He wanted to do more than just survive. He wanted to fight the plague, to help humanity reclaim its future. And he knew this medicine was the key. Over the next few hours, Kale experimented with small tasks under Lyra's careful supervision. He solved complex mathematical problems almost instantly, designed new lab equipment that could replicate parts of the medicine more efficiently, and even began predicting the behavior of alien compounds with remarkable accuracy. "It's amazing," Lyra said, watching him work. "You're thinking in ways most humans never could. This is the future, Kale. This is what humanity can achieve when we push ourselves beyond our limits." Kale smiled, feeling a rush of pride. "I never thought I'd feel this capable again. I thought the plague had taken everything from us. But now, it feels like we can fight back." "Exactly," Lyra said. "And that's why it's so important to keep going. The world outside this lab is suffering. People are losing hope. But with this medicine, we can change that. We can restore humanity." Kyle paused, looking at the glowing vial in his hands. "And you think this can be scaled up? For everyone?" Lyra nodded. "Eventually. But it will take time, careful testing, and courage. We'll need to adapt the formula, test it on more people, and ensure it's safe. But the potential is there. Humanity has a chance to reclaim what's been lost." Kale felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fear that had gripped him earlier was gone, replaced by determination. He could see a path forward, a way to fight the plague, to restore memory and creativity, to give people hope again. And he knew that he couldn't do it alone. He needed Lyra, and humanity needed both of them. As night fell over Nova Astra, the city lights casting long shadows across the lab, Kale and Lyra continued their work. They analyzed data, adjusted formulas, and prepared for the next phase of testing. Every moment was filled with discovery, challenge, and excitement. Kale felt his mind racing, filled with ideas and solutions. He could see patterns in the data that had been invisible before, predict outcomes, and even imagine new ways to improve the medicine. The transformation was not just physical or mental, it was deeply personal. He felt stronger, smarter, and more capable than he had ever been. "This is incredible," he said softly, almost to himself. "I can feel the difference. I can think, adapt, understand. It's like I'm seeing the world for the first time." "That's the transformation," Lyra said, smiling, "and it's only the beginning. Tomorrow, we'll push further. You'll see what humans are truly capable of when we embrace our strengths, take risks, and trust each other." Kale nodded, feeling a surge of excitement and hope. The road ahead was still uncertain. The plague was still out there, threatening lives and stealing memories. But for the first time, he felt ready to face it. With the medicine and human determination, he believed they could win. As he looked out at the city, the lights reflecting on the station's steel walls, KL realized something profound. This wasn't just medicine. It was a test of humanity, of courage, adaptability, and the unyielding spirit to survive and thrive. And for the first time in years, he felt confident that humanity could pass that test. Lyra watched him silently, sensing the change. KL had transformed not just because of the medicine, but because he had embraced the challenge, faced the fear, and trusted in his own abilities. That was the essence of humanity: resilience, courage, and the willingness to push beyond limits. And as the night deepened, Kale felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't known in years. He was no longer a passive observer of the plague's devastation. He was a fighter, a thinker, a human capable of shaping the future. The transformation was complete. The next step, testing the medicine on a larger scale, would be dangerous, uncertain, and filled with risk. But Kale was ready. Humanity, he realized, was ready. For the first time in years, hope was alive again. The lab on Nova Astra was quiet that morning. But outside, the station buzzed with activity. Ships came and went, carrying people, supplies, and messages across orbiting trade routes. Yet Kale and Lyra felt the calm before the storm. They both knew that their discovery could not remain secret forever. Kale had been feeling the effects of the medicine every day. His mind was sharper, his senses keener, and his confidence growing. But he also knew that others, powerful organizations and corporations, would want to control the formula for themselves, and when that happened, there would be danger. Lyra was the first to break the silence. Kale, she said, her tone calm but firm. We need to talk about security. The moment word gets out about the medicine, there will be people who try to take it from us. Kale frowned. You mean? Lyra nodded. Exactly. This isn't just a discovery. It's power. And not everyone will want it to help people. Some will want it for control, for profit. We need to be ready. Kale swallowed hard. What do we do? Lyra walked over to a secure console and pulled up schematics of the station. We need to move. There's a planet on the edge of the Solara expanse where the original plant grows. Remote. Difficult to reach. If we take the formula there, we can reproduce it safely, without interference. Kale's mind raced. The Solara expanse was dangerous, full of unknown wildlife, unstable terrain, and harsh weather conditions. Are we ready for that? He asked. Doubt creeping in. Lyra looked at him steadily. We have to be. Humanity is counting on this. The plague is spreading every day. If we wait, people will continue to suffer. We can't afford hesitation. That night, Kyle and Lyra packed the necessary equipment. The vial of glowing blue medicine was secured in a reinforced case, its energy faintly pulsing as if alive. Kyle felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He had transformed physically and mentally, but he knew the real test was coming. The next challenge wasn't in the lab, it was outside. In the unpredictable and dangerous world beyond the station, they boarded a small shuttle, sleek and fast, designed for stealth and maneuverability. Lyra piloted, her hands steady on the controls. Kale checked the instruments, monitoring fuel, trajectory, and environmental systems. Every beep and flash reminded him of the stakes. If they failed, the medicine could fall into the wrong hands, or worse, they could lose their lives before it could help anyone. Hours passed in tense silence. The stars outside stretched in long streaks as they accelerated toward the Solara expanse. Kale tried to focus on the beauty of space, the swirling colors of distant nebulae, the sharp glint of faraway planets, but the tension was always there. Danger waited in every shadow. Lyra finally spoke, breaking the quiet. Kale, I need you to remember something. The medicine works because humans are adaptable. You've experienced that transformation yourself. Out there, we'll need that same adaptability. The expanse is unpredictable. We can't control everything, but we can respond. That's what will keep us alive. Kale nodded. I understand. We adapt. We survive. We fight. The shuttle finally entered the outer edge of the expanse. The landscape was unlike anything Kale had imagined. Jagged rock formations jutted out from the ground like teeth, and strange, glowing plants spread across the terrain in patches. The atmosphere was thin and cold, with swirling storms in the distance. This was alien, hostile, and dangerous. As they landed, the shuttle's engines hummed and then fell silent. Kale felt the vibration of the ground beneath him. Alien and unstable. Lyra checked the instruments. All systems stable for now, she said. But we move quickly. Daylight is short, and the storms are coming. Kale grabbed the equipment, the vial of medicine secure in his pack. Every step he took on the rocky terrain reminded him that survival required caution, skill, and quick thinking. He felt alive in a way that was almost overwhelming. The medicine had enhanced his senses, but it had also sharpened his awareness of danger. Every sound, movement, and shadow was amplified. They trekked toward the location where the original plant grew. Strange wildlife moved in the distance, creatures Kale had never seen, some crawling, others flying with translucent wings. The medicine made him alert, but he still felt a thrill of fear. Every step could bring discovery or danger. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed through the rocky canyons. Lyra froze. Stay calm, she whispered. It's a predator, most likely territorial. Keep moving slowly, and avoid its path. Kale's heart pounded. But he trusted Lyra. They navigated carefully, ducking behind rocks and using shadows for cover. The roar came again, closer this time. But they managed to slip past the creature without drawing attention. Kale realized that the expanse wasn't just dangerous. It demanded his focus, his courage, and his adaptability qualities the medicine had enhanced. Hours later, they reached a plateau where the plants grew in abundance. The alien flora glowed faintly, their blue veins pulsating with energy. Kale stared in awe. "So this is it," he whispered. "The source." Lyra nodded. "Yes. From here, we can study and reproduce the medicine safely. But we must be careful. Anyone who finds this place will want it." Kale set up monitoring equipment, while Lyra began examining the plants. The glow of the bioluminescent leaves cast strange shadows, making the plateau feel alive. Every movement, every sound, was amplified by Kale's enhanced senses. He could almost feel the pulse of life in the plants, as if the planet itself was alive. As they worked, the distant hum of engines caught Kale's attention. He froze. "Lyra." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "They've found us," she said calmly. "Corporate agents. They want the medicine." Kale's heart raced. "What do we do?" "We fight if we must," Lyra said. "But first, we survive. Follow my lead. Trust your instincts, and adapt." The agents arrived faster than expected, dropping from hovercrafts above the plateau. Kale felt the tension spike in his chest. Every instinct, enhanced by the medicine, screamed at him to act. Lyra handed him a small tool, not a weapon, but a device capable of creating temporary barriers and traps. "Use this," she said. "We can't let them reach the plants." Kale nodded, his hands steady despite the adrenaline. He placed traps and barriers quickly, his mind calculating paths and probabilities. Lyra worked alongside him, her calm presence a grounding force. Together, they used their knowledge, skill, and the medicine's enhancements to outmaneuver the intruders. The agents were skilled and well-equipped, but Kyle and Lyra were faster, smarter, and more adaptable. The alien terrain gave them an advantage, and every move Kyle made was precise and calculated. The battle of wits and strategy unfolded across the glowing plateau. Hours passed in tense action. Kale felt exhaustion creeping in, but the medicine's effects and his own determination kept him going. He realized that the challenge was not just physical, it was a test of human courage, ingenuity, and teamwork. Every move, every decision mattered. Finally, as night fell over the expanse, the agents retreated. They had underestimated the humans, the terrain, and the unpredictable nature of Kale and Lyra's strategy. The plateau was safe, at least for now. Kale sank to the ground, breathing heavily. "We did it," he said, a mix of relief and triumph in his voice. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. There will be more challenges, more threats. But we've proven something important today. Humans are strong, adaptable, and courageous. That's why the medicine works. That's why we can succeed." The medicine. KL looked around at the glowing plants, the alien terrain, and the distant stars. He realized the truth in Lyra's words. The challenge had tested him. His mind, his body, and his spirit. And he had emerged stronger, more capable, more human than ever. As they secured the plateau and prepared for the next stage of research, Kale felt a sense of hope and determination. The plague was still out there, and dangers would come again, but he knew that with courage, ingenuity, and the medicine, humanity could face any challenge. For the first time in years, Kale felt confident. They could survive. They could adapt. They could triumph. The challenge had shown them the way, and humanity would rise. The morning light broke over the plateau in the Solara expanse, casting soft blue and gold reflections on the alien plants. Kale and Lyra stood at the edge of the clearing, taking in the glow of the bioluminescent flora. The battle from the previous night had left them weary, but victorious. The agents had retreated. And the plateau, the source of the miraculous medicine, remained safe. Kale looked at Lyra, the exhaustion clear in his eyes. "We survived," he said softly. Lyra smiled, a faint glimmer of pride in her eyes. "Yes, but surviving is just the beginning. Now we have to make this medicine work for everyone." Kale's mind raced. The possibilities were overwhelming. With the medicine, humanity could reclaim its lost creativity, memory, and vitality. It was more than a cure. It was a chance to elevate people, to restore what had been stolen, and to push forward into a future humans had never imagined. They spent the morning carefully collecting samples of the plants, documenting every detail, and ensuring the preservation of the genetic material. Kale felt a thrill run through him as he worked. The medicine had transformed him, sharpened his mind, and now he could think of ways to reproduce it on a larger scale. "This could change everything," Kale said, almost to himself. "We can heal people, give them their lives back." Lyra nodded. "And we will. But it will take careful planning. We can't rush. Safety is important, but speed is too. Humanity is counting on us." As they worked, Kale realized how much they had achieved in such a short time. Just days ago, he had been trapped in despair, struggling to find hope against the plague. Now, he was standing on an alien world, holding the potential to save millions of lives. The transformation was complete, not just in his body, but in his mind and spirit. He felt capable, strong, and ready to take on any challenge. Once the samples were secured, Lyra began synthesizing the first mass-producible batch of the medicine. Kale assisted, marveling at the precision and speed of their work. The medicine glowed softly in its containers, a symbol of hope and resilience. "This is it," Lyra said, holding a vial up to the light. "The future of humanity in a bottle." Kale smiled, feeling a sense of awe. "It's beautiful," he said. "But more than that, it's a chance to fight back." Hours passed as they worked, and by evening, the first batch of medicine was ready. Lyra carefully prepared the distribution plans, ensuring that the medicine would reach the most affected areas first. Kale reviewed the strategies, feeling a surge of purpose. Every calculation, every precaution, every plan was designed to maximize the medicine's impact and save as many people as possible. They sent the first shipments to nearby colonies and stations, monitoring progress through secure channels. Reports began to arrive almost immediately. Patients recovering, memories returning, creativity and energy restored. Humanity was rising, slowly but surely, from the shadow of the plague. Kale felt a deep sense of pride. The transformation had started with him, but now it was spreading to millions of people. The medicine had unlocked something powerful, not just physical or mental strength, but human potential itself. As the days passed, Kale and Lyra continued their work. They refined the formula, improved production techniques, and expanded distribution. The plague, once unstoppable, began to recede. Human innovation and courage, amplified by the medicine, were turning the tide. One evening, Kale looked out at the stars from the plateau. The alien world, once hostile and strange, now felt like a place of possibility. The medicine had brought hope here, and soon it would bring hope everywhere. Lyra stood beside him, watching the horizon. "Do you see that, Kale?" she asked softly. "That's humanity. Fighting back. Rising. Adapting." Kale nodded, feeling the truth in her words. Humanity had faced impossible odds, and yet they were surviving, thriving, and overcoming. The plague had tested them, but the human spirit, courage, ingenuity, and determination had prevailed. This is why we fight," Kale said. "Not just to survive, but to thrive, to reclaim what was lost, to prove that humans can overcome anything." Lyra smiled, a warmth in her eyes. "Exactly. And it's only the beginning. We'll keep moving forward, pushing boundaries, exploring, discovering. Humanity has the strength to reach the stars and beyond. Kale felt a surge of hope and determination. The transformation that had begun with him had now spread to all of humanity. Minds were sharper, spirits stronger, and the potential for greatness was limitless. The future was no longer uncertain, it was full of possibilities. As the months passed, the medicine reached every corner of human civilization. People recovered from the plague, communities rebuilt, and innovation flourished. Humans ventured into new territories, explored distant planets, and pushed the boundaries of science and imagination. The world was changing, and humans were leading the way. Kale reflected on the journey that had brought them here, the fear, the uncertainty, the danger, and the courage it had taken to face the unknown. The medicine had been powerful, yes, but it had been the human spirit that had made it truly transformative. Courage, trust, and ingenuity had carried them through every challenge. And now, as humanity rose stronger than ever, Kale realized something profound. The greatest power was not in the medicine, the technology, or the stars. It was in humans themselves, their ability to adapt, to endure, and to overcome. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes shining. "We did it, Kale. Humanity is stronger than ever. And it's only going to get better." Kale looked out at the horizon, the alien plants glowing softly in the night, and felt a deep sense of peace. The challenge had been immense, the journey dangerous, but the reward was beyond anything he had imagined. Humanity had triumphed not because of a single discovery, but because of their courage, resilience, and unyielding spirit. As the stars shimmered above the Solara expanse, Kale knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity would continue to explore, discover, and overcome. They had faced the plague, survived the challenges, and emerged stronger. The future was theirs, bright, vast, and full of endless possibilities. Kale smiled, feeling a surge of hope. Humanity had triumphed, and together, they would continue to reach for the stars.